All right. We are hot. We are rolling. I think we're rolling in 4K or high definition.
HD, dog.
HD, baby. No more 720p for us, maybe. I found the switch in here that says max quality. So we'll see what happens.
It's just going to edit me out.
Worst things could happen. Episode 147. I believe that's where we're at, 147. We're creeping up on that big old 150.
Yeah.
If I don't knock myself out of the equation before then. Episode 147 of ShiftLess, the podcast that is only about bicycles. And I do have to preface this one, Bradford.
Yeah.
Please do understand, anything we talk about is just our opinion. We're not industry insiders. We're not spreading rumors.
I love to spread rumors, though.
I'm sharing my opinion and my thoughts and my mental masturbation, so to speak.
Yeah. What all the opinions enclosed within are only the opinions of ShiftLess and do not reflect any sponsors.
Exactly. Or anyone else that may have actually a clue.
Yeah.
But I got some hot takes.
Oh,
I've got some hot takes.
I'm ready. I've been out of the loop.
Have you?
Yeah.
You've been traveling, right?
I've been traveling, yeah.
Okay, we'll get caught up on that. We are going to take a quick side note because, again, strong opinions, but Bradford's been up to work. Quick catch up on your, what are you calling it? Your cooler room or your sausage room?
Cure room.
Cure room.
The cure.
The cure. Always in constant loop in the background.
No, somebody was telling me I needed to get a Cure LP and just hang it on the wall.
That I approve of. I've never been a huge
Me neither.
fan
I'm
of
not
the
even
Cure.
sure I'd know any of their songs.
But no, I like it.
I'm sure I do. I just don't
Okay,
know by name.
so this is a combination of your coolers, your dry aging.
Dry aging is where the beef is dry aging. This is a different cooler, separate cooler altogether.
Okay.
But yeah.
So this is a sausage cooler, or
Salami.
this is a salami cooler.
Basically, they're the same thing.
It's a derivative of a sausage.
Yes.
So we'll dig more into the details of this later in the show, but I'm going to finish this off. So I want to. Oh no!
Making sure you.
I appreciate that. It seems to work even when it blacks out, but yeah, we want to stay on top of it. For those that are watching, all right, just quick. This
Hold
is
it up a little bit.
I'm trying,
There you go.
but I need to see. This is the beef, and just a quick rundown of what that is.
Brisket. It's got a couple of different beef cuts in it, and then mainly salt and pepper.
Okay. And the center is a pork tenderloin base.
Yes, Calabrian pork tenderloin.
And then the final one.
Is it Ventricina? I'm probably saying it wrong.
Okay. A more traditional salami, but with.
It's very regional to a certain part of Italy, but it's got a little Calabrian in it, fennel powder, fennel pollen.
And you've got these memorized, so I can dig into these and we can talk more detail, because this was a rough draft and this stuff is amazing. The beef is astounding.
It's still going to get better, too, because once I peel it, so now that it's all, so the beef was pulled at 40%, the Calabrian was pulled at roughly 40%, and maybe just a hair under, and then the Ventricina was pulled at roughly 40%. So I'm going to go through probably today and weigh each individual one, and the ones that are ready to pull, I'm going to pull them and vacuum seal them after I peel the mold and the casing off.
This one is absolutely amazing.
Dude, that on a pizza?
Put that over there so I don't break it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to finish that off before the flies got to it.
But then you vacuum seal it, and what that does is allow the moisture to equalize, because it's going to dry from the exterior to the interior. So you end up with a little bit of almost a crusty on the exterior. But once you vacuum seal it and let it rest theoretically you're supposed to let it rest for as long as it took to dry, and then that moisture will redistribute, so you'll have even moisture edge to edge, if that makes sense.
We will dig deeper into that later in the episode, because our food talk doesn't hit with everyone.
That's fine.
But the people it hits with, it hits hard. They enjoy it.
But you know what? Even everybody in our audience may not always ride their bike, but they always eat.
They always eat.
They always eat.
People got to eat.
People got to eat. That was the first name of my first food-oriented business, was PGE. People got to eat. I had business cards and everything. I thought that was going to be a thing.
It still could be. It still could be. Let's talk bicycles.
Let's do.
Let's go hard on 32-inch conspiracy theories.
Talk to me.
All right.
I love a good conspiracy theory, and I'm enamored with 32 inch.
I really enjoyed our episode last week with Carlos and Lisa talking bike. We're going to do some follow-ups with them.
Yeah.
They got a lot to share.
I enjoyed them.
And they're good peoples.
Yeah.
They're good peoples. But I think we just kind of scratched the surface, the Unbound debrief and the 32 talk and the Crux talk and stuff. We didn't really get to dive deep into it. Now I've had a week to chew on it myself. And
The salami or Unbound?
no, salami's just been the past 10 minutes or so. I really enjoy your salami, Brad. I like it a lot.
I like it when people like my salami.
Again, this is just hypotheticals. This is just opinion.
Okay.
But I think I have actually figured out what the real deal is on the 32-inch brouhaha, why that is such a big deal. But first, we got to go back to Unbound.
Okay.
So we touched on it a little bit.
How many 32 inchers were in Unbound?
The pro race, just one, as far as I know.
Okay.
Just Cam Jones on the Scott.
So
I have heard of no others.
Okay.
Obviously, Robin in the XL, he won it, and that's going to really lead into my conspiracy theory there.
I was wrong because my prediction was if there's one, there's going to be at least three. So I was incorrect about that.
But what I'm thinking ties very well into...
Okay.
They wanted you to think that, quite frankly, is really what it boils down to.
Oh, I fucking fell into it? Let me turn my phone.
We all are.
Yeah.
And that's the root of it. I think 32 inch is all just hype, almost vaporware at the moment.
Really?
I do.
How does Scott have a 32 inch prototype that is capable of winning a race then?
You don't say how, you say why.
Okay.
All right. So let's step back into Unbound a little bit.
Okay.
All right. So one of the big takeaways from Unbound was it was muddy, but also key unselfishness. Fair term?
Yeah.
From the get-go. I'm not saying Keegan wasn't unselfish, but from the get-go, man, that's classic F1. That's team orders there. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
Do you think he had somebody in his ear saying, give your wheel to so-and-so?
I think it was determined ahead of time that should something arise...
I think that's like an unsaid thing, though. Always support your teammate. If your teammate can carry on, then support him. And I think Keegan said he was riding stronger than me. I couldn't even hold his wheel. So when he had a...
But what else would he say afterwards? Yeah. Again, just going into the traditional concept of team orders.
Yeah.
That team orders is always, it's the same when a basketball team's rebuilding or a baseball team's rebuilding. We don't say, oh, hey, we're throwing games so we can get the highest draft pick or anything. Nobody ever says that, but does it happen?
Yeah, sometimes it's pretty blatant. Yeah, I agree. Okay.
And again,
I'm with you now.
I'm not saying this to diminish Keegan's support of his team. This actually reinforces the support of his team because it would be real easy for him to be a hothead superstar, and if they had thrown those team orders at him, go, no, I'm going to win my own damn race because he's broken down on the side of the road in the middle of the mud. I can keep going. It would... And
it doesn't seem like he has much of an ego, though. He seems very chill.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe he's got great publicists that want you to really believe that.
Yeah.
And I'm not speaking anything ill of Keegan. He's proven himself to be a super strong rider, super capable, and hasn't demonstrated anything negative in personality traits or anything. You couldn't
think everybody's an asshole.
Man, I think every corporation's an asshole.
I could be convinced of that.
I'm
not on a limb there.
Not a big fan of international corporations, let alone American corporations or anything like that. And yeah, we've been, I don't know if generous. We've been less critical of Specialized for a little while now. I'm not saying we've fallen in love with them, but I think it's like maybe for at least personally, I know why maybe I haven't been as critical of Specialized as I be, but
because they quit suing small shops.
I'm getting the sense that Specialized is being specialized again. We talked about their fancy ass MTBs and how pricey they were, and lo and behold, drastically cut the prices on them a few weeks ago, but their dealers are left holding the bag. Now they're selling them for less than what they sold the dealers to, and the dealers don't get a discount, so they have to.
How does that work? Do they not refund the dealer a portion of their purchase price?
That, my understanding is the dealer's just too bad, so sad in that situation, and Specialized seems to just be doing Specialized stuff again, particularly to their dealers that have helped them weather this storm. But I don't know anything. I don't know anything.
It wouldn't surprise me.
I'm hearing things. But Specialized is a force. There's no doubt about it. In the cycling industry, they are a force.
What does this have to do with your 32-inch conspiracy?
We're getting there.
Okay.
I promise you, we're getting there. It all ties together. So there's no doubt that the star bike, based on results,
was the crux. 5 of the top 10 in the pro? Is that right?
5 of the top 6.
Oh, shit. Okay.
For at least 4 of the top 6, I know for sure. I'm pretty sure it was 5. They weren't all team specialized. I think 4 were team specialized, and I think there was a 5th that was on a specialized. But I'm not positive of that.
Yeah.
So the Crux owned it
Yeah.
from a performance basis for final results, right?
Handedly.
No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So the Crux was super performer. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And let me get this plugged in here. I will edit all that jibber jabber bullshit out.
Dude, looking for rigs of the Tour de Vive.
That's not out yet, I don't believe. I think
What's up with that?
it's because
The tour starts this coming Friday.
so they'll release it this week, probably Wednesday or Thursday, maybe even Friday. And that's also why we're not doing a Tour Divide preview episode. We'll do our Tour Divide preview next week, which will be Monday of next week.
Yeah.
When we know who's actually rolling, what they're rolling on, and after a couple days, who's at the top of the heap sort of thing. So that'll be, I think that'll make for a better preview than a complete speculation of we don't even know who's going to actually be rolling. I know what the start list is or who's signed up to start, but that doesn't mean they are going to actually start.
Any big notables? Is locked?
To be honest with you, I just saw the start list and I was just glancing for people that I knew. So I didn't really dig into the top names yet. I just knew I found it. It's okay, I can do that research later. So I don't know who the big names are at the moment.
Okay. That's fair.
But by Monday next week, we'll know and we'll talk about it. But going back to the crux of Unbound, so fair to say the cycling industry marketing has always been racer-based. I don't think that's a stretch to say that they've leaned on race performance, race results, perception of how fast a bike, how much faster this bike is than that bike, sort of thing. So that's the absolute core of cycling industry marketing. And some manufacturers lean harder into that than others. Scott is one of those manufacturers that leans very heavily into race performance and race perception to sell their bikes.
Especially in the UK market.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Their whole U.S. market is based on race bikes.
Yeah.
And it paid off well for them last year.
Yeah.
They won Unbound and they won the Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Scott could not have asked for better gravel awareness of what they had to offer at that point.
Yeah.
But Scott and Trek and Giant and Cannondale and everybody else that's out there, Specialized has been teasing this new Crux for a couple of years now. Everybody knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Nobody knew the details of it. Obviously, people knew, but it wasn't widely known what all the details of it were.
But didn't it debut at Sea Otter?
I can't speak to that specifically. Probably that would make sense that it may have. I think it was unveiled there.
I think it was unveiled at Sea Otter.
I think it was.
But I think the first time we saw anybody on one in a race situation.
It was unveiled at Sea Otter and debuted at Unbound, I believe, but I'm not positive of that. Not positive. But it was obvious to all the other bicycle manufacturers that Specialized was going to offer a good bicycle.
Sure.
And it was going to tick all the boxes for all of the hype or what's considered requirements. Obviously, tire size matters now. Mm-hmm. And probably the crux, and that was probably the big space. that
15.2 watt aerodynamic saving.
and and spec for 2.2s, and like you said, it appears it can take 2.4s.
Yeah.
And that's where essentially the Crux was still ahead of everybody else. Everybody else was still in their mode of, we think we can get 50s in there for their new bikes, whatever. So what, Giant just came out with their new, what's the Giant one? I can't remember but they just came out with theirs, and I haven't heard hardly a peep about it.
Oh.
What does Trek have in the works? They released their Checkmate something last year that didn't really seem to make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't been following big box companies for a while.
I understand.
Yeah.
But we're in our niche upon niche.
Yeah.
Most unpaved cyclists follow Specialized, Trek, and Giant more than
all the little guys.
all of our little guys combined.
Yeah.
Even when we talk salsa, most of those people are zoning out,
Yeah.
generally speaking.
Salsa's like the punk rock of the crowd. It's even more, but
There's some,
still radio punk. But
yeah,
you know.
it's the offspring.
Yeah. Let's at least give them no effects, because there's some education behind it.
And here's where it really aligns for me.
Okay.
The timing of the 32-inch hype, you know what that really coincided with? The rumors that basically everybody knew to be fact that Keegan was going Specialized. About October, November is really when the 32-inch hype really started kicking in late last year.
You think that was to steal the thunder from Specialized and their Crux?
Essentially, here's what's going on.
I don't think everybody would align to do that.
Well, let me continue.
Okay.
Let me continue.
Sorry, I'm just trying to see where you're going with this.
Let me get there.
Yeah, go.
Let me get there.
You know it's not my nature.
Again, the timing of the 32-inch hype was thus. Were people, was 32 stuff in the pipeline? Yes. Something was happening there. No doubt about it.
And the anticipation was growing.
I don't know that the anticipation didn't start growing till last fall when the hype machine kicked in. And that's what kept throwing me the whole time. It's like, where did all of this 32 talk come from out of nowhere?
It didn't come out of nowhere, though. It was a snowball effect. If you recall, 2 years ago at the Taipei show, Maxxis quietly released the 32-inch tire.
Understood.
Yeah. And that's what started everything.
That's what, again,
slow start.
they needed something to latch onto, and
Yeah.
we're getting there.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
Okay.
So it's obvious that Specialized is putting together a super team essentially to launch their new Crux. Specialized is going all in 2026 to try to own the gravel market with their Crux. Fair to say, I think we've all already said this. Last week we were talking about it. The talent that was on the Crux at Unbound that took 4, if not 5, of the top 6 positions, men's and women's, you could have put them on any of the bikes, and they essentially probably would have ended up in the same
Yeah.
realm of finish. Fair to say?
Yeah.
It wasn't the bike that won all those podium spots. It was the motors that were driving the bikes.
Okay.
All right. Everybody in the industry recognized that from the get-go. There's no way we're stopping that Specialized team in the Grand Prix, in Unbound, or whatever else in 2026. In turn, what that means is Specialized, and the team is going to lean on it's all about the bike. Oh, this is the best bike ever, blah, 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 blah. And everyone else is a year, maybe 2 behind Specialized with their next great bike. And that's too tight of a time frame for everybody that's going to buy a new bike to just go ahead and buy their Crux this year. They're not going to buy the new Trek next year or the new Giant next year or whatever. So basically, Specialized was going to own the racer gravel bike for the next 3 to 5 years by the combination of the launch of the right bike at the right time, supported by the right team with the right results. And they understood the only way they could slow that down was to get everybody that is the front end of the curve, technology-wise, purchase-wise, the early adopters that I'm going to pay full price for the newest and greatest thing, but they're not going to do that 2 years in a row. They're going to do it once every three to 4 years. And the whole bike industry leans on those buyers. They lean on the first year early adopter full price buyers to buy their $12,000 bikes or whatever else. And everybody recognized that Specialized had all the pieces coming together at the right time to essentially own the market for the next 2 or 3 years of those early adopter buyers. And everybody else was going to be frozen out. They figured out the only way to slow them down was to get all of those people to think there's something even cooler just around the corner. I'm going to hold off.
I think you're giving Specialized too much credit. And I think this
How do you, wait a minute. I got it. Why, how am I giving them too much credit?
by thinking that they're going to control the market by releasing one bike. And I think that
Specialized didn't think they were going to do that. The rest of the market figured out they were going to do that.
and
it's not the bike that's doing it, it's the team that's doing it. But the bike at that time, in conjunction with that team, that's 2 years worth of marketing right there to sell every damn one of those Crux they possibly can.
do you know how many people would have to keep a secret for the moon landing to have been fake?
Okay. I don't follow what you're saying there. How does that
I
coincide
think
with?
you're giving the rest of the industry too big of an assumption that they would all collude together against one.
I'm not saying they colluded together. I said somebody started that snowball and everybody else goes, "Ooh, I like that. I'm going to run with that one too."
So you think the 32-inch seed was planted to as subterfuge against Specialized making a big...
I think somebody in the industry was sitting around drinking something with somebody else in the industry going, "Oh man, we are going to get so screwed by Specialized if there was only some way we could slow down the momentum." And then somebody said, if everybody thought the 32-inch was the next big thing, some people wouldn't buy that Crux yet. And somebody just sends out a quick Instagram post, "Oh, wouldn't it be cool if a truck came out with a 32?" Or whatever got that ball rolling. I'm not saying everything colluded and came together at that point. Going back to your snowball effect, there was 32-inch interest out there. Somebody does something else that, maybe there's something really going on there. And that's why I'm saying this whole steam around 32-inch kept building and building. And here's why I'm saying it's all vaporware. Because we still don't have a 32-inch bike. So obviously, Specialized is not going to be coming out with a 32-inch gravel bike anytime in the next 3 to 4 years.
Wasago's producing them.
That's major manufacturers.
Yeah. Historically, that's the way it's gone, though. If you look at 29-inch, Karate Monkey was probably the first production 29-inch mountain bike.
No, we got to go back to Fisher. Fisher was before Surly.
Okay. But
Fisher,
that's before Fisher was absorbed by Bont Rager, which was absorbed by Trek.
but they were absorbed because of their 29-inch platform. That's what made them a difference.
I think they probably had money issues, but
Okay, what made them a value to Trek was the 29-inch platform.
yeah, I think it's more branding. But
You just can't admit that you've ever been swayed by the marketing departments.
obviously, advertising works. But I think historically, though, the smaller boutique companies that don't have huge production lines, they can take that chance and just scramble a jig and make some prototype bikes to fit whatever the new platform is, whether it's Pinion or it's EBB or,
But I agree. But that boutique one-off stuff doesn't align with the hype that's out there about 32.
I know, but you didn't let me finish. I'm saying historically, it's been the smaller producers that tip their toe in the water, and the bigger production crews quietly work in the background because when they release a product, they want it to be production level. And so they're just watching from the sidelines to see what the reaction is to these test bikes or whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
They're taking notes and they're figuring out, is this a viable market or is this just super fringe and we want to stay out of it? And in a lot of cases, there's been a lot of companies that have held off almost too long to make them a contender in that market. And I think there's a dilemma there, whether you're first to market or you're last to market. Sometimes you can swoop in at the end and go, we figured out where everybody else is doing it wrong, or you can be the pioneers of it. And it's a balancing act. And I think the bigger companies have more to lose by staking their reputation on something that could be considered a trend or a fad.
Understood.
And so that's the reason I think, that's the reason I was very surprised to see Scott put a 32-inch in a race and call it a prototype that's never going to be released.
Because it's a stopgap effort to slow down the Crux momentum that was obviously coming.
I guess I just don't see the Crux as that big of a player. Get the statement that was made at Unbound by the field, and I get that it's going to give the Crux tons, and Specialized therefore tons of publicity and fanfare. But I also have to believe that there are people that are complete brand whores. How many people do you know that once they get in bed with Santa Cruz, they have 3 or 4 Santa Cruz bikes? Once they get in bed with Surly, they have 3 or 4 Surleys.
Again, you're delving into your echo chamber,
Sure.
the people that are fairly like-minded to you in the way they approach their hardware. That's the niche upon niche. The overarching niche of the cycling world, the cycling community, the everyday Joe gravel racer that's out there or wannabe gravel racer, they're still leaning hard into Specialized, Trek, and Giant. And they are not typically
Brand allegiant.
they're not how Trek oriented was Justin, and he's not anymore. So those people, and that's the thing, they shift their allegiance every 3 to 4 years, 3 to 5 on the outside. So they go with the cool thing. How many people did we know wearing yellow shoes back in the day?
I'm so glad that trend's dead.
Yeah, but where the hell did that come from?
Oh, Pro Peloton.
Okay,
Yeah, it was a Mavic thing.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But every racer for 18 months had yellow shoes.
Yeah, so stupid.
Okay, that's the way it works in that crowd, though.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Now it's all about white shoes.
And it could be blue shoes next week.
The white bar tape thing's been around for decades, maybe
Okay.
even longer.
I'm just saying that end of the market is very fad-driven, extremely fad-driven. Oh, hey, how quickly did the whole racing end of things go into grams of carbs per hour?
That was a slow burn too, but I
No, that came on quick. Once that got critical mass, it exploded. Did
that
from
was results driven.
it was results reinforced.
Yeah, and science driven. Once the science came out and people were able to verify what people had been quietly saying, then it became like, oh, we should pay attention to this because now people are able to fuel, put in bigger efforts, better recovery. The science was all there. It's just like the Zone 2 revolution. That was quietly going on for a while until this.
And now that's backing off. And now everybody's going, oh, Zone 2's that's been overblown, sort of thing. And now we're getting
I think
more
it's all Zone 1 now, buddy.
the Zone 1 revolution.
Yeah.
Thanks to our friend Austin.
I've been in Zone 0 revolution.
We're going to work
lately.
on that.
Oh, no,
We're going to work on that. All right. Shall I continue?
Yeah, continue.
But so here's again the hype. Okay, no, actually, let me ask you. So, what, in your opinion, is driving the hype around 32? Is the hype being driven by the market? Is that interest in people wanting it? Or is the hype being driven by the manufacturers and saying, here's what you want?
I've mentioned this before. I have a problem discerning the difference between if it's a last-ditch effort by the cycling industry as a whole to create interest in a product that's going to resuscitate the cycling market. Are they leading the consumer, or is the consumer pushing the cycling industry? And my interest, and I can't separate from it, is I just think it's interesting.
I agree. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Do you want to know more from Starship Troopers? Yes, I do want to know more.
Yeah.
But that's my point, is that's the normal reaction, new stuff, cutting edge stuff. And it typically doesn't heat up until there's some meat on the bone. There is no steak to the sizzle at this point. There is nothing out there for people to latch onto outside of concept. And quite frankly, Sea Otter was the biggest affirmation of that for me. Aside from salsa, there was no production 32 of any kind there from, again, a major manufacturer. The boutique guys, sure. But even all of those boutique guys at Sea Otter, they're going, yeah, we've got a 32-inch bike here for you to look at. But we still don't know how it works. We don't know what the geometry is going to. We're still dicking with it.
Yeah, and that plays into what I said earlier. Historically, the boutique guys are the ones that do stuff like that.
Agreed. And what I'm saying is, but we're at this hype level, awareness level around 32 that's well beyond anything to support it.
2 questions for you.
Yeah.
Do you not think that Trek, Giant, and Specialized, we already know Cannondale does, do you not think they're quietly doing R&D and heavy testing on 32-inch bikes?
I think they are.
Okay.
I think they are.
Second question. What do you think's more important? That Specialized took the podium or that a Scott 32 won XL? What do you think's the bigger news there? Specialized would have you believe that, hey, we took 5 of the top 6 or whatever. But
I think the big news is
the only 32-inch that entered XL won.
Yeah, and he'd have won it on a 26-inch hardtail too.
I don't disagree.
And they're essentially the same story. It's the motors that matter, not the bikes. What was Lance's book? It's not about the bike.
But it was about the bike. It was more about the drugs.
It was about the doping.
Yeah.
Okay. Wait till I really get into the conspiracy.
Come on, unravel it for me. I'm waiting with bated breath. But here's my other statement, more or less than a question, but how can you vindicate what you're saying? There's no way for you to prove it either.
It'll be a time will tell thing.
Yeah.
And we're back to the root of all conspiracy theories out there. Lack of evidence is not evidence. All right?
I want to know what Alex Jones has to say about
I really don't. Lack of evidence.
Turning the frogs gay.
Is not evidence, but there not being a solid presence of 32-inch from a major manufacturer at Sea Otter is evidence.
It's not evident. You're missing what I'm saying, Kevin. Historically, if we could rewind, there were numerous 29 producers in the boutique area.
Sure.
Custom frame builders.
For 10 to 15 years before 29ers took off.
They were the canary in the coal mine.
Agreed.
And it's the same thing with 30. Nobody that knows the history of cycling would have anticipated Specialized or Trek or a big top producer to debut a 32-inch at the first bike show that we see 32-inch bikes. Now, I guarantee.
I'm not saying they should have.
I would put hard money that I can't even afford to
bet
on the fact that there will be at least 2 32-inch used by big box companies at the next Sea Otter.
Okay.
That's how this whole thing plays out historically.
Okay. And I follow what you're saying. And at the moment, I disagree. I could.
We already know Cannondale's cooking them.
For MTB is all we heard about, right? We haven't heard about gravel on that.
That's all we've heard about. And I still contend that long distance gravel,
and
i.e. XL, is the almost premier market. That in long distance gravel or bike packing.
And that's all part of my conspiracy theory. Okay. We'll get there in a moment. But
I'm going to need you to whiteboard this for me.
The Always Sunny one?
Yeah.
The strings going everywhere?
Yeah, that's what I need here.
All right.
I'm trying to follow.
Okay.
I have to be combative.
Essentially, and I'm not saying 32 isn't going to happen. I think you're taking this. I'm saying the current hype of 32, where we're at in the hype sequence. This is where 29er was in 2000.
Yeah. Maybe before that.
In your circle it was. In the general public, 29er didn't take off till 2010.
Yeah.
Okay?
29 was a much slower burn than 32 inch. I have to say that.
But that's my point. We don't know that because when 29 took off, 29 was firmly established as being out there, and everybody knew somebody on a 29er. You may not have agreed with it, but at this point, do we know anyone on a 32-inch bike? We're at the hype level when 1 in 10 people in 29er world were already on a 29er. And we're at that point with 32, and nobody knows anybody with a 32. I don't even know anybody that specifically wants a 32. I know lots of people that I'm curious. Do you want a 32, or are you curious about trying one out?
I just told you that I was looking to see if titanium 32-inch Fargos were shipping yet.
I understand that, but prior to the hype, did you want a 32? Was that on? We've probably spent more time on 32s
Then we have e-bikes.
than we have e-bikes, and more time than our echo chamber niche upon niche upon niche circle has entertained.
I've shifted from wanting to throw a leg over 32, which is undeniable, to I have more interest in owning one. But I'm also trepidatious to be the
bleeding edge guy.
Yeah, because I don't think that they're going to figure the geometry out right out of the gate. And I think that's where a lot of big box manufacturers are. They don't want to be first to market and someone to turn around and go, truck's fucking up because they're running a 507 axle to crown, where we've proven that the geometry handles better at a 515 or whatever it is, or the wheelbase needs to be X. There's still a lot of variables that people haven't figured out for the geometry to function properly, especially in an XC type environment, in a more nimble handling environment. Whereas I think in the extended long range stuff, I think the geometry, while being important, it's not as important as it is in a handling situation. But I definitely have 10 times more interest in getting a 32-inch than I do in getting an e-bike.
Okay. And the hype machine has worked, at least to divert you from e-bike. Because prior to the hype machine kicking in, you were talking, my next bike's going to be an e-bike. You said that more than once.
I don't know if I ever said that.
Are you going to make me pull up the receipts on that one? But I get it. We're both essentially saying the same thing. I think we're essentially on the same page. I don't disagree that 32 is coming. I don't disagree at all.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that where we're at in the hype cycle is well advanced from where we should be based on current real world options available and awareness of 32. And again, it goes back to prior to this hype, I don't know of anybody that was, I still don't know anyone that goes, I need a 32. There's lots of people that are curious. And it's that curiosity factor that's thrown into the mix, because the reality is Trek, Giant, Specialized, probably Cannondale, and here's where Scott is, I believe, the exception, and I'll let you pull a Jamie on here to confirm or not for me in a minute if you want to. We know the major manufacturers, their development cycle is not months for new bikes, right? This new Crux, they've been talking about it for a couple years now. And did they fine-tune some things in the last 18 months? Sure. But it was basically the same bike. Maybe they figured out a way to get a little bit more clearance after Dylan's stuff blew up. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's the last 2 years that we knew the Crux was coming, and at least 2 years before that, Specialized was developing it. And that's where all of these manufacturers are in their design for their next gravel rig. I think everybody's lost on mountain biking. Nobody knows what the right mountain bike platform is now.
So convoluted.
They're trying to get it back towards XC, and I do believe that is the right fit for mountain biking in long term. I don't know if they can ever put that toothpaste back in the tube, though.
And there's too many variants of mountain bikes.
And 80% of the mountain bike market's convinced you need at least 6 or 7 inches of travel on both ends to ride a mountain bike, even on the tamest trail anymore. So I think that toothpaste is out of the tube.
There's a lot of brainwashing in mountain bike.
Yeah.
Cycling, period.
So, and here's where maybe my memory is off, but I think Scott came out with their new bike last year. That was their new gravel.
I don't know.
I think it was.
Okay.
So I think they came out with their new bike last year. So they're in a position to, their next bike in development for their gravel racing, they're in position to go 32 on that.
They claimed that was a prototype that was never going to be released, but that doesn't mean that they won't change two things on it and release it.
But again, if they just released their new bike last year,
Yeah.
they need to recoup those costs before they come out with anything else.
That's what I was just about to ask. How much did they stub their toe? If you're in my echo chamber, if you're brand allegiant and you're a Scott guy and you were thinking about buying the new bike that they supposedly released last year, and you see this 32 inch and you're of the size build, why would you go buy the new Scott instead of holding on to your shekels and waiting for them to release the 32? Maybe they stubbed their toe in that situation.
The Scott loyal guys all bought that bike last year.
Maybe.
And that's where Scott goes, oh, hell. Specialized is going to put this super team together for 26. The best names that everybody knows. They're going to own the series at least, probably every race. And they're releasing their new Crux. Specialized is going to own 2026. And that's my point. Scott, Trek, all of them were like, oh, shit, how do we slow down this fire? And slow down the fire is you don't want all of the racers going to Crux in 2026, because then nobody sells anything else for 27 or 28 either. So you need to get those people that were going to be at the front edge, all the racers buying the latest and greatest, and everybody was going to buy the Crux this year. You need to get them to say, let me step back, see what else is coming down the road. And maybe fall of this year, winter of this year, we start hearing more concrete stuff. Trek announces their gravel 32-inch bike will be out in 2029. Scott announces their gravel 32 will be out in 2028. Or what? Maybe we start getting more concrete stuff. And then see out next year, we see more prototypes and where the industry's going. And it bought that time. It bought that knee-jerk gut reaction of, I want that new Crux right now. All of those people tempered their emotions through 2026. Some of them are still going to buy a Crux. Oh, I'm not going to wait for 2028. I'm not going to wait for 2029. And that was the whole point of that. I think Scott, again, I'm pretty sure they came out with a new gravel rig last year. I could be mistaken. I think if they came out with their new bike last year, they were in a unique position to where they can start developing their next platform to be a 32-inch bike. And it was in their interest to slow down that Crux burn. And let's go ahead and throw $500,000 at a couple of prototype bikes, and we'll make them with i9 wheels. We know those wheels will hold up regardless. And we buy the guy that won the Tour Divide last year and put him on one. We've already got the lifetime champion from last year. We'll put him on one. And it's developmental for them. They definitely caught a ton of publicity the week leading up to Unbound. And they got a lot of feedback information from those racers on that 32-inch platform. And did it prove our theory that the ultra endurance distances are the ideal platform for the 32? I really don't think so, because it proved that if you have the strongest ultra endurance racer on your bike, you're likely to win. I'm not saying that as a...
Those same guys would have won if they were on 32s.
Yes, that's my point.
Okay.
They would have won on 32s. Again, Unbound 200, no, that wouldn't have been won on a 26-inch hardtail by Keegan.
No.
But in any decently capable...
Obviously not. It would have been won by Mads.
True, because Keegan would have given him a 32-inch wheel. But so that's my grand conspiracy theory. It's not that 32 isn't coming. It's nowhere near here yet. The hype around it is like it's just around the corner. It's about to blow up.
But I think we have to put a few things in perspective. When you're comparing the emergence of 32 versus the emergence of 29, news traveled a lot slower back then. Print was still a thing. The internet was a lot slower. News traveled a lot slower. And so the hype on 29, not to mention that just computer-aided drawing and rapid prototyping, none of that stuff existing. So in order for 29er to really have a purchase on the market, have some foothold in the market, it was naturally slower to develop. Whereas we have all these other tools and all these other hype mechanisms that are much more rapid acting now. So what that culminates in is through gains a lot more traction a lot quicker, no pun intended, because rapid prototyping, the internet is a buzz, news travels way faster, and obviously we can take some lessons from geometry development in 26 to 20. So I think that from 2 years ish of dropping a tire to having, even if it's prototypes from major manufacturers, that is a very rapid development. Whereas 29er, by the time we had a production run of 29ers from a major brand, it was 6-7 years from the time that a tire was released and people started dropping them at shops. It was just the nature of the time that things just developed slower. They spread slower. If gravel became a thing today, if gravel wasn't a thing versus back when gravel first started being a deal, think about how slow that thing developed and think about how quickly it would develop nowadays, just because of how much communication there is, how connected everybody is. I mean, think about if you wanted to learn about a 29-inch karate monkey, or when Niner first came out, for example, you had to read about it in Single Track Magazine or MTBR or something like that. There wasn't a lot of online consumption of media back then. So news spread slower, hype spread slower. So the market developed slower. It's just the nature of where we are. That I don't think it's overhyped. I think it's just how the news cycle works.
Okay. I
Disagree.
beg to differ.
I'm sure you disagree.
I beg to differ, but I ultimately we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out.
Sure.
Is ultimately what it boils down to, and it's the question is: do we find out in a year, or do we find out in 5 years, or somewhere in between? I think we're still 3 years out from 32s.
That's exactly the number I was thinking. I think in 3 years we will be at peak 32-inch market saturation, and it will either descend from there or steady climb.
And I think I could be mistaken. I'm not saying talk about 32 is going to evaporate and disappear. I'm not saying that at all. But I think the hype machine is about to wind down. It's not.
No, I think it's gaining traction.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. I think we're at the point for it to gain traction. There needs to be steak alongside the sizzle. We're still in sizzle mode. People are going to, if the bikes don't start coming out soon, they're still going to be interested in it, but they're not going to be waiting around on pins and needles going, oh, what's the next 32-inch news sort of thing. It's going to turn into the I'll believe it when I see it mode. And I think we're on the verge of that starting to happen. Now, I say that can get turned completely upside down this weekend. If half the field at Tour Divide shows up on 32s, everything I just talked about today is
I don't think that's going to happen. I don't see to me half the field. I think if there's 3 people on 32 inchers at Tour Divide, I'll be surprised.
And I'm also going to go, we still need to go outside of boutique, custom stuff. How many 32-inch Fargos will be at the Tour Divide? Will there be another prototype, something from a big manufacturer out
Here's
there?
the thing, though. The detriment for a 32 on Tour Divide is readily available parts.
No doubt.
If I'm on a 32-inch and I
You
have
can't even get a tube.
I have a catastrophic tire failure, you could put a 29-inch tube in a 32.
Yeah, true,
no
true.
problem. And plugs still work just the same on a 32 as they do on a 29. And electronic pumps are a thing now, so it's not even like you got to get a bigger CO2. You're running basically the same volume of air because you're running lower pressure. Maybe not. But what I think about is spoke availability, rim availability, tire availability. If I'm in a 2,700 mile race and I plan to be a contender, do I want to enter on a bike that if I'm 1,000 miles into the race, I may not be able to source any parts? That's definitely got to be a consideration if you plan to be a contender. So
true.
I
If
think
you
that's a limiting-
personally plan to be a contender, that is definitely a consideration. But if you are a sponsored rider that's told you're going to be riding this bike, you don't have a choice in the matter. So, and that
Yeah, but then that burden falls on the manufacturer that's forcing their hand.
people.
Hold up.
Okay, all right.
Because what happens if, let's just throw Scott in here.
Yeah.
Let's say Scott says, hey, whoever their Tour Divide rider is.
Let's say Robin's out there again on the Scott 32 prototype.
Okay. And he has to withdraw from the race because he can't get support because he shredded a tire. And then what's the headline going to read? Scott, factory rider, forced to withdraw from the Tour Divide because there wasn't any parts to support his platform.
And the publicity machine is already prepared for that. They already have their statement set up.
They're going to spin it.
Of course they're going to. This was a prototype bike, and this was the ultimate test of the prototype concept. We knew we had gigantic hurdles to cross, and it was unlikely to complete this race. Robin gave it the best effort possible. We're proud of his achievement.
Heroic effort.
And we learned so much. And again, this is a prototype. This tells us what we need to do for our long-term growth plans or whatever, that basic spin.
Yeah.
And it's all completely true. It's just what you emphasize at what point of the conversation.
Yeah.
And yeah, the heroic effort will be a big part of it. And Robin's, and again, I'm not saying this is what's going to happen. I would be shocked if that bike shows up at Tour Divide.
No, that's not a Tour Divide race.
Exactly. But Robin would toe the sponsor company line, and he wouldn't throw them under the bus. Oh, they gave me a piece of shit bike. That's why.
Obviously.
He's not going to do that. So, and that's the way that stuff works. But going back to, I think it was a genius move for Scott to lean on Robin and the XL, because I would love to hear the full inside scoop someday of how that prototype bike came together, what the timeline was on it, how did they design it
from pencil to production.
Yeah. I would be absolutely fascinated by the real story on that. We'll never hear it.
I would bet it was within 6 months.
Again, which is completely in line with the Keegan announcement and the Specialized team.
Yeah.
And I think, I agree. I think Scott threw a lot more money at the prototypes because that was basically that was development money for the next bike anyway, that they probably decided. Probably everybody knew, in 5 or 10 years, everything's going to be 32-inch base once these small guys figure stuff out.
I don't think everything. I still think the size is a limiting factor.
Maybe. And again, I don't think anybody knows yet. That was the big takeaway from Sea Otter. Nobody knew what the right application for their 32 was going to be. Everybody agreed, we don't have the geometry figured out. Most people agreed, 5'10" and up. Even better, 6 foot and up.
Yeah.
The only disagreement to all of that was Salsa's, we've got it all figured out for everybody.
I think Salsa was just trying to prove a point. And I think they may have the right way to put it.
Blown their wad?
No, I think that they may have misrepresented just a touch just in order to prove a point that 32 is not just... I think that they anticipated that the overarching thought process...
Oh, they knew what the main objection was going to be.
That it's only for tall riders.
Yeah.
And it was by design, literally, that they brought an extra small...
Oh, most assuredly.
...debut. They did that with the utmost intention. But I'm not sure if that's going to be a production model. I doubt that anybody's going to come out of the gate and produce an extra small 32-inch bike.
I mean,
And if anybody's
They're
gonna
taking,
do it, it's going to
I
be
don't know,
salsa.
that was not an extra small, that was their small for 5'2".
I think it was extra.
Was this? I thought it was small, but
I
maybe,
could be wrong.
I know they're taking orders for smalls.
Huh. That's astounding to me. It's surprising.
I don't think they're leaning. I think I actually tend to agree with where you're going with that logic. They're throwing it out there to offer it, and maybe they're building 6 of them. And they pre-sold 5 of them to people that are friends.
I think that was intended to be a disruptor within the disruptor.
I agree completely with that. They leaned really heavily into the it's for everyone angle. And boy, howdy, from my perspective, that's really going to take some proof before I buy into it.
So shifting away from 32s, but still staying in that thought process, I've become more and more enamored with long top tube bags. And I think with 32 inch, you're going to have more of a sloping top tube, which is going to play right to a longer top tube bag. Because now you have more storage readily available on the top tube, and it's out of the way because your top tube's effectively going to be slightly lower.
You could also...
Rebel 8 just came out with a badass one.
Did they?
Yeah.
Okay. I could also see it negates the whole point of the sloping top tube. I get it. But I'm also one of those that I think standover is much overrated in fit requirements.
Yeah.
Because the reality is anybody can stop and lean to one side. I think with the 32, what we'll end up seeing with the sloping top tubes is we'll see basically reverse frame bags where it attaches to the sloping top tube, but then you have a higher piece that attaches to the seat post, and basically you have a big triangle bag on top of the top tube. I'm not going to say in every application. I'm saying that's going to be a bag that's out there.
Yeah. Well, those already exist. It's
Oh, do they? I hadn't seen them.
jerry can.
I hadn't seen them where they extend all the way down the top tube and
yeah.
make a triangle bag.
Yeah, I don't know that they do that. I'm sorry. I didn't realize you were talking about one continuous bag.
Yeah, and that because with the sloping top tube, you lose your frame bag.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
It's going to be interesting. That's mine.
It will be interesting. This is much better than I was expecting after the past few mornings, to be honest with you.
Still a little humid, but this breeze.
Again, not nearly as bad.
You know, well, I was in Mississippi. It was thick as could be down there.
How was the road trip?
Caught a lot of rain on the way there. We left Friday about noon, and by the time I made it to 6:35, there was literally an inch of water on the interstate. It was treacherous. You could barely see.
I hate when that happens.
You could barely see. But by the time we made it to Forney, it let up. We had rain hit or miss, but it wasn't bad. My AC started having issues while I was on the road, so I came back home and had to jack with that. It's tough having a 20-something-year-old air conditioner in Texas.
Oh, the AC here at the house.
Yeah.
Oh, while you were on the road, I thought you meant your truck AC.
No, I took Paul's car.
Gotcha.
That may negate any thoughts of me getting a 20 or 32-inch bike as well. It's become
that's not a minor investment.
No, it's become a glaring truth that
if it's 20-something years old, you're due.
Yeah, but I also have the thought process: the newer units that you're going to buy aren't going to be near as durable and serviceable as a 20. I can't remember how old that Mini is. 21-year-old unit. The motto, they just don't build them like they used to. Like
that applies to everything.
Yeah, my AC unit is
ish.
I've replaced quite a few parts.
Yep.
I've replaced the blower motor. I keep capacitors on hand. I keep wire in connectors and strippers and all that stuff. I came home yesterday and opened up my AC, and I immediately went, there's the problem. I had a capacitor that had completely just blown its guts out.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, I keep them on hand, which you got to do in Texas. And so I just killed the power to the unit, replaced the capacitor, and there was, I guess, because the unit had kept turning on, once that capacitor blew, it was still trying to pull power.
Yep.
For the, what do you call it? The fan can, whatever that is, the main capacitor that runs the fan, that was still trying to pull power, so it burned up the connector. So once I fixed that, and then there was I guess because it was still trying to pull power, the lead that goes to the compressor was also burnt. So I replaced 3 connectors in that can, turned the power back on, AC works fine. But that capacitor was the ultimate cause of it. But that took me 7 minutes.
Oh, that's the capacitor, usually.
Yeah.
I will say this. The last time we've taken the modular approach to our AC system over the years, and I think we've done the outside unit twice now, the inside unit once, and the blower a couple times. But the last time that we did the indoor unit, the efficiency went, our electricity bill basically got cut in half. It cooled the house so much better.
Yeah. And that's part of what I'm contending with too, because I did introduce a lot more heat.
Yeah.
With those 4 units in the back room.
Yep.
So
and then
AC's having to work a lot harder.
I hate to admit it, but the reality is that just from the energy savings, cost savings, the reality is if this one lasts half as long as our old one did, we're still ahead of the game. So it's something to take into consideration.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you're going to cut your electric bill in half. I was not expecting that as a benefit, and I appreciate that it was there.
It's just a big chunk of change.
It's a huge chunk of change.
Yeah.
And that's why our stuff got replaced a piece at a time.
But it's also, the other problem is that's part of my business.
Yeah.
My AC.
Oh, you can't.
I couldn't.
Do you have a dinner this weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got dinner this weekend.
Yeah.
So if your AC's not working,
Yeah.
that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. Is this a whiskey dinner? Or is
No. July 11th is Sagamore Spirits.
Okay.
That'll be our next whiskey dinner. I have a dinner this weekend, what's the 13th, and a dinner the following weekend on the 20th. And then in July, I have a dinner on the 11th, and I have a call with a client either today or tomorrow, and I think I'm going to have a private on the 5th. They're wanting to buy out the whole house, so that'll be cool.
That would be very cool.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Back to the bike industry.
Yeah.
I think the bike industry is grabbing at straws right now. Nobody knows how to position themselves. Everybody's prepping. There's going to be a couple of brave companies that are going to stick their nose out, and they're either going to benefit from it or they're going to get snubbed. And I think that's the big concern, especially when you have so much to lose in a big corporate operation. If Specialized says, hey, we're releasing a 32 first quarter of 2027, and I don't know, somebody comes out and proves that 32 is slower or whatever,
Right.
and it just basically makes Specialized look stupid, I think that's what these big corporations are worried about, getting mud on their face. And that's one of the reasons they're always kind of...
I think most of them are just worried about surviving at this point.
Yeah.
I think all of them are on the verge of going under.
I mean, that's what I was alluding to or trying to say earlier, is I think it's hard to differentiate whether the 32 is that big of a deal, where it's going to be that cool, it's going to be that ubiquitous, it's going to solve a bunch of problems and make people faster and make rides more comfortable and blah, 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 or if we're being force-fed that by the cycling industry to create a new hype and make the next must-have to put an influx of cash into the cycling industry to at least keep it afloat for the next 3 or 4 years. It's hard to understand what's going on there, whether it's this or this, or a combination. It could definitely be a combination.
It could potentially be a combination, but I mean, the whole time I've been of the opinion that there's no way, even if it is the magical unicorn of bikes,
Which I don't think anybody thinks that.
I'm saying the best case scenario is that it is.
Yeah.
Even then, it's not going to sell 1 million bikes the first year. It still has to be proven to the market, and the right pieces have to be in place, and the right support for tools and bike racks and everything. It does have to be ubiquitous, where it is across the board and available everywhere before it does become true mass adopted.
Did you see the link that I sent you
Yeah.
from One Up?
That's what I'm saying. It has to be all of them.
Yeah.
It has to be Saris. It has to be Thule. It has to
Yeah.
be Yakima. It has to be Kuwa. All of them.
I just thought it was interesting that One Up was getting in front of everything and saying, hey, our bikes work with 32.
Okay. Yeah, but again, because there's probably a lot of people that are saying, oh, what does that mean for bike racks? And maybe that slows down One Up sales in 2026 because people are holding off on the next rack because they got to wait till see if they're going to get a 32. What does One Up do? Oh, we work with 32.
Yeah.
Go ahead and buy One Up
I
now.
think it's smart.
I don't disagree,
Yeah.
but maybe it has nothing to do with 32 for real. It's getting people to buy now as opposed to waiting to buy. Whereas the industry is trying to keep people from buying now, which is going to be the crux, wait to buy something else. And that's bringing that whole thing full circle. It's not that 32 inch isn't going to happen. 32 inch is going to happen somehow, or to what level we don't have any clue until the bikes start coming out there and that we do see how they work. We do see if they are faster or go farther or more comfortable, or they taco the wheel if you do anything over a 6-inch drop or whatever.
I don't think that's going to be a
I'm just
concern.
saying, we don't know until we know.
All the bikes I saw were built with carbon hoops, and they're way more indestructible.
I'm not saying taco wheels. I'm just, who knows what?
Yeah.
Maybe the sloping top tubes don't work for people over 200 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know yet. That's all I'm saying.
I do think the small head tube is a problem that they're going to have to figure out.
It limits your options.
It's also a major fulcrum, especially when you have a longer lever
Yeah.
to extend out to grab that axle on that front wheel, and you've got all that deflection that's being forced through that head tube.
With more rate, generally speaking.
Yeah, I think that's a scary failure point for me, especially from a longevity standpoint, because effectively they're using the same size head tube, if not smaller, to at least approach current geometry that's applied to a 29er. And I think you're creating a big failure point in that head tube design, especially because they're trying to bring the wheel up and keep the top tube lower so that junction is a lot tighter. And it just doesn't, I don't like it on the ones that I've seen. That's been the one thing that I've been like, ooh, they got to figure out that cockpit design all the way around. But I don't know. My crystal ball's still very hazy.
They've got to figure out the whole bike. And how long did it take for the industry to adopt disc brakes?
Yeah.
I realize there's still people yelling at clouds that say disc brake sucks. But I think most people agree they would rather have disc brakes than rim brakes on every bike these days. I'm not saying it's 100% by any means, but I think most people are there. It took 15 years before disc brakes were mass adopted. Yes?
I'm trying to think.
My 2003 Enduro, specifically because it had disc brakes and dual suspension, because I thought I needed dual suspension at the time.
Yeah.
I learned differently later. I learned differently after I got my 29er. That's when I had hardtails before. But it's when I had a proper geometry 29er, it was like, why the hell have I even concerned myself with dual suspension
I think
up to this point?
29er kind of made most people understand that suspension, especially, let's be fair, suspension was very clunky, heavy.
Oh, yeah.
Had poor designs as far as pivot points and wearing out and developing slop and all that in that era, but also the 29-inch tire and the amount of volume and the footprint you could put down and everything, and just the comfort that you could get from that kind of negated the need for rear suspension in a lot of people's minds. And I think 32 is going to do the exact same thing, probably to a higher level, but we could pontificate at the end of time.
Oh, that reminds me. I came across an interesting tidbit that I didn't, and maybe I think you may have mentioned it previously. Remember when we talked about lifetime banning drop bars at Leadville? Well, I thought it was all the mountain bike races in the Grand Prix series. Schwamigan actually still allows the drop bars. It was
only Leadville.
Leadville and Little Sugar, both. Little Sugar bans them as well. But hypothetically speaking, if Keegan, or if Team Specialized puts a flat bar on their Crux at Leadville.
Huh.
What does that do to Crux if they win that?
I think 2.2 is the right size tire.
And you say it might take a 2.4.
Yeah. It'll definitely take a 2.4 up front. I could see Keegan doing a 2.4 up front, a 2.2 out back. Is he still with Maxxis?
I have no idea. I would assume not. They got to be on Specialized tires, right? Team Specialized is going to be on Specialized tires, aren't they?
You're probably not wrong. And here's another funny question. Have we heard any rumors about Specialized 32-inch tires?
Nope.
That may be part of it.
Remember, we talked early on about Specialized being really quiet about stuff.
Yeah.
On the 32-inch stuff. Nothing from Specialized about 32. Nothing implied or anything like that. Quite frankly, I had no idea a new Crux was coming out until they dropped it. I don't pay attention to those bikes. It's just, I'm not going to buy a Crux.
Yeah.
I'm not going to buy a Mog. We wondered about the drop bar ban, and it struck me as odd that Keegan was supposedly so in for it. And I said, then, that's got to be Specialized talking there.
Yeah.
Specialized doesn't want. And I think all the major manufacturers don't want the frankenbike drop bar MTBs out there. None of them want that because they're not going to put out an off-the-shelf frankenbike drop bar MTB. But I can see where it does go the other way, where Specialized did push for the drop bar bans because we know we got this bike. The bike itself can do all of it. And, hey, we'll reverse frankenbike it and put a flat bar on it.
I could definitely see that happening.
And look, that happens at Leadville, then it becomes, what do they do at Schwalmingen? Are they going to do flat bar or drop bar? What's all the buzz going to be for that at that? Between Leadville and Schwalmingen, it'll be, what's Team Specialized going to run? Flat bars or drop bars or both? Or not? Specialized owns the marketing for the Lifetime Grand Prix this year. It's going to be nothing but Specialized talk.
What if Specialized comes out with a 32 before Leadville?
I will be absolutely shocked.
Yeah. Because I don't think Schwalmingen's a course for a 32-inch. Once again, this is all just speculation.
But that's the point. We don't know what works for 32 and what doesn't work. And it's going to vary from bike to bike.
But I do think that Leadville is a way better arena for 32.
Oh, because it's basically straight up and down over chunk.
Than Schwalmingen.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. For that, I guess, technically speaking, for that matter, no, because it was 32. What size? They were running 2.2s? Do we know what size?
I think last year at Leadville?
No, at Unbound on the 32s. Scott 32s. What size tire were they running? I think it was 2.2s.
I think so. I do believe so.
Yeah, maybe they do reverse frankenbike and put flat bars on the 32. That would be fascinating.
Yeah.
That would be fascinating as hell. I guess, again, that would only be Cam at that point, though. It wouldn't be Robin.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But Cam Jones, remind me, let's just talk through Cam Jones. But he was a surprise winner at Unbound last year.
He was a wild card entry, or he was attempting to wild card qualify in last year's Grand Prix. He was not part of the official elite pro field. He was just he qualified to be in the running for the wild card if his results proved it. His win at Unbound basically locked it in that he would be racing for points the rest of the year.
Yeah.
But Keegan led points all year long until Big Sugar. And then Cam won a sprint at Big Sugar and won Big Sugar as well. That took him over the top. So he won the championship last year, and he won Unbound, and he won Big Sugar as an independent, basically. I say independent. I'm assuming he was already racing for Scott at the time. I'm 99% sure he was. But he wasn't a pro race. He wasn't part of the official pro field going into the year. And that was a big disruption because we had talked about that because it was clear that Lifetime for their Grand Prix was really focusing on, we want to create the buzz around these very specific group of athletes. But we'll have this wild card thing in the background just to say it's open to everybody, but it's really not. We want to do all of our specials and video stuff on these. We want to make stars out of these people.
Yeah.
And Cam kind of disrupted that. And that was a last minute thing because everybody still expected Keegan to win the championship last year.
Yeah. Where did Cam finish at Unbound? Do you know?
Last year?
No, this year.
Oh, 10th, I believe. 10th, I believe.
I'm going to look real quick.
And I haven't heard this. He was on the struggle bus. The last part of it is the way I heard it. But in those conditions, anybody could have been on the struggle bus. But maybe the 32-inch bike is what put him on the struggle bus. We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know. And I think last week we had said something about Robin winning the XL by an hour or so. I think it was 30 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Definitely under an hour. Still a good gap, though.
Sure. Let's see. Results.
But, yeah, I mean,
Why is it so hard to find the results?
I don't know. I've always been able to find it just by Googling.
I did. Elite men, Q100 mile, Cam Jones, 10th place.
How far back was he?
9:39. So, what?
Not
25 minutes?
25 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Their definition of the struggle bus is different than mine.
Let's see. See, this looks like almost 21 hours and 20 minutes, 22 hours and 12 minutes. What's that? That's
Okay. I saw
48,
I saw something yesterday that said 34 minutes or something like that. Maybe not.
Isn't that 48 minutes?
Okay. So
Oh.
less than an hour, but more than 30 something minutes. So that's okay. A good lead. I'm not, but not over an hour.
Yeah. Oh, 48, 58 minutes.
Okay.
Is that right? I can't even math right now.
I understand. 52 minutes, isn't it?
Yeah, 52 minutes.
And where did Justin, like 29th, I think? Something
Yeah.
like that.
I think so.
We'll definitely have to bring him on and
Yeah, I want to know what happened.
I want to hear all those stories. I'm under the impression,
It looked like he had a large time, 29th.
obviously it would make sense. It's 150 more miles. But I think the XL guys and girls were dealing with much worse conditions than the 200 milers were.
Yeah. The astounding thing, though, to me, is that Robin still averaged 16, almost 17 miles an hour,
That's ridiculous.
even through all the conditions. Still finished in 21 hours and 20 minutes, which is astounding.
No doubt.
But Justin sent me a couple of messages. I forgot exactly. Let me just read you what he said, because it'll be a lot better than me paraphrasing.
Okay.
He goes, thanks. I sent him a video or a message and said, just watch your vid. Love your no quit. And he said, thanks, Brad. It was a lot of fun in a weird way. And he said, hey, I had 10 people mention your pod during the race. And I've just said, it's type 2 fun. I think he finally discovered what type 2 fun is.
Okay.
And then I just said, oh shit, we have 10 listeners? But yeah, I'd be interested to hear his take on, obviously, the weather. I don't think anybody was surprised by the weather. I think they were surprised by course conditions. The attrition rate was extremely high, which it is even in beautiful weather. A lot of people get to mile whatever and say, you know what, I don't want to do X number of miles of this more. I'm going to pull the plug, or I'm just not feeling it, or my gut, or whatever the case is. But then you throw weather in there, especially inclement weather and riding through rain and hail and mud and carrying your bike for miles and all the stories we heard, then the attrition rate just triples. I think they had in XL, I think there was something like a 65% attrition rate or maybe higher. Kudos to Justin for just finishing.
No doubt.
Especially given the conditions.
No doubt.
But I do want to hear his story and his version of what transpired while it's still fresh on his brain.
I as well.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see if we can get him for next week.
That'd be
and
great.
combo that with the Tour Divide preview. I think it'd be interesting to hear his take on, because obviously Tour Divide's on his bucket list.
Yeah.
Whenever that may fit into the equation. You touched on something there. I got a lot more feedback messages from our Spinistry riders after this Unbound that were very specifically thankful for the training stuff we'd put together for them, where they completed 200 miles. I had more acknowledgments and thank yous and messages this year than ever before, which kind of caught me off guard because, man, I just expected those conditions just to
eat everybody's lunch.
basically.
Yeah.
And so far, I haven't heard a single one of our Spinistry riders that did it, they were like, weather's always a factor. We've got several Tour Divide signups that are Spinistry veterans. It'll be interesting to see after that launches how that comes together.
How many Tour Divide entrants were there last year-ish?
I have no idea.
Is it somewhere around 25, or is there way more?
No, it's 150, 200.
Oh, okay.
I think it's like 250 on the list at the moment this year, but that's not how many. And that's signed up for I think the race. I'm not following. I guess there's some controversy now. So there's a race start list and a tour start list. Basically, if you think you're going to be contending, you're supposed to. If you don't plan to be a contender for the top, you shouldn't be signing up for the race list. I don't know the specifics of that. I'll dig into some of that this week, and we'll talk about it more next week. But there's some controversy of people that shouldn't be signing up for the race list that are signing up for the race list that should be on the tour list, and vice versa. So I just looked at what I believe is just the race list, and was 200-something names, male and female combined. And I think they have a different tracking page than the tour people do, but I'm not positive all of that.
Okay.
I want to dig into be a little more prepared on those details when we chat next week. I did very much like the Unbound XL tracking page. I'm going to look into those guys and see what it takes to potentially work with them for some of our longer distance stuff in the future. I liked that tracking setup, so I'd like to find out more details on that one. I've always been a fan of our Spot Walla stuff, but it has an added features that are starting to become critical for these types of events. So it's good for general tracking, but as far as ranking and how you compare to others and things like that, Spot Walla doesn't do any of that. So we'll look at some of the other options, I think, for the Rat, and obviously USA Trail when those pieces come together, and the segments we do along those lines. Another take, and I, quite frankly, I'm very disappointed in you, Bradford.
Oh, shit. What do I do now?
I expected you to ask me about this, and it hasn't been brought up.
Oh, how's your rash?
My rash?
Yeah. Oh, that's not what you were talking about?
Asshole. All right. That's enough of Shiftless. We're done for this week. Next week will be the Tour Divide. No,
Scratch your itch.